Sander Cohen, Rapture's favorite artist. He's also a poet, composer, sculptor, and playwright who rules over Fort Frolic. Originally a renowned artist of many forms who practiced in New York City, Cohen became a leading figure in Rapture's art community. Following the descent of Rapture into chaos, he went mad and became sadistically impassive to the death and suffering of others. The splicers within his dominion are subject entirely to his whims, whether in life or death. All around Fort Frolic can be seen examples of his arts, plaster figures of people who are in fact horrifically murdered splicers and other unfortunates coated in plaster. Sander Cohen was a Jewish American artist who lived in New York. Although information on his life pre-Rapture is limited, some of the scant information we have tells us that he'll eventually become colleagues with an Elgar Vankin and Mimi Taber. It is implied that he converted them to the Ryanist philosophy since they began speaking of a coming utopia with an almost religious fervor. On the surface, Cohen was a celebrated artist, although he often had to stoop to pleasing the public rather than following his passions. It is suggested that the constraints that the public imposed on his work may have been a contributing factor towards his conversion to Ryanist ideals. During his time in New York, Cohen was good friends with Andrew Ryan, who admired his artistic ability and personally invited him to come to Rapture. However, it might be assumed that Cohen's talents as an artist was looked on by some as dubious at best, given his frequent run-ins with the Doubters and Lee Wilson Seward's commentary that he was a fraud. Before Rapture descended into chaos, Cohen was a leading figure in the artistic community and social scene of the city. He ran Fort Frolic and owned both a nightclub and several galleries of art throughout the city. He also produced several record albums, the latest of which was the heavily advertised Why Even Ask, as well as theatrical shows, one of which was named Patrick and Moira. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? As one of Andrew Ryan's most fervent supporters, Cohen was granted the honor of writing the Rapture anthem Rise, Rapture, Rise, and he consulted on the building of Ryan Amusements. Cohen was also interested in the art movement of abstract expressionism and participated in Sophia Lamb's celebration of unconscious art in Dionysus Park. After nationalizing of Fontaine Futuristics and the subsequent closure of the Little Sisters orphanages, as well as the recently orphaned children caused by Fontaine's followers being sent to Fontaine's department store, converted prison, leaving their children behind, Cohen took in the destitute children off the street. He began trafficking the young girls to various individuals willing to pay the right price. The majority were bought by Ryan Industries to be turned into little sisters. How absolutely disgusting. As a result of his closeness to Ryan, Cohen became a notable enemy of another singer and actress, Ann Culpepper, who called him Ryan's Songbird. Cohen allegedly used his contacts with Ryan to put the bump on her, as said by Security Chief Sullivan, who had to do the dirty work. With this competition gone, Cohen experienced a rare era of extravagance before the Rapture Civil War forced him to close Fort Frolic. Before Jack arrived in 1960, Cohen had 5 disciples, although only 4 were encountered and mentioned in the game. They were Silas Cobb, Martin Finnegan, Hector Rodriguez, and Kyle Fitzpatrick. Cohen's 5th known disciple was Elizabeth, who prior to the events of Burial at Sea, spent 2 months undercover as his Songbird in order to gain information on his human trafficking schemes. It is all but stated that Cohen's relationships with his disciples were sexual in nature, with the exclusion of Elizabeth, given her gender as well as the fact that she despised him. Silas refers to Cohen paying his rent. Martin calls Cohen an old fruit, a pejorative term for a homosexual. And Hector utters the ambiguous phrase, "the things that man had me do." Cohen's comments are even more explicit on the subject. All of them either betrayed or displeased Cohen at some point. As with the medical pavilion's Dr. J.S. Steinman, Cohen went insane, driven so partly by Adam and out of frustration for the lack of appreciation of his work after the Civil War. An audio diary reveals that he even regretted his decision to move to Rapture for this reason, and may even have planned to kill Ryan. When Jack arrives in Fort Frolic, Cohen cuts off his radio contact with Ryan and Atlas, stranding him on the level by causing the bathysphere to Hephaestus to submerge. Cohen then toys with Jack, inviting him into the Fleet Hall to see a performance. This turns out to be the final performance of Kyle Fitzpatrick, who is plastered to a piano rigged with explosives. After the piano explodes, killing Fitzpatrick, Cohen requires Jack to take his photo and place it in his Quadtych, a masterpiece that he says people will remember him by when he is gone. Cohen then sends Jack to Poseidon Plaza, promising to let Jack take the bathysphere to Ryan only after Jack has killed and photographed his 3 remaining disciples, placing each photo on his Quadtych. Once the 3rd photo is placed in the Quadtych, Cohen has a paranoid moment, accusing Jack of being a doubter, and sends some splicers to kill him, with the lights dimmed, a spotlight on Jack with Waltz of the Flowers from the Nutcracker playing. But Jack fights them off long enough for Cohen to calm down. After the player completes the Quadtych, Cohen finally reveals himself, among a host of spotlights and confetti, descending the staircase into the atrium of Fort Frolic to congratulate Jack on his work. Cohen then rewards Jack by opening one of the glasses near the stage. If the player chooses to attack Cohen or attack his Quadtych, the latter fights like a Houdini splicer, teleporting around the area and throwing fireballs at the player. If the player chooses not to kill Cohen at Fort Frolic, then Jack will encounter him later in his apartment at Mercury Suites. There, Cohen welcomes him into his home, saying, "Come into the light, little moth. Come in." Jack enters and sees 2 Houdini splicers dancing to the music of a precariously balanced phonograph. If the player disrupts the dancers and kills them, Cohen will then descend from his room upstairs and attack as a Houdini splicer, just like he would if the player attacks him in Fort Frolic. However, if the player leaves the dancers alone, then it is entirely possible for Cohen to survive the events of Bioshock. There is, however, an interesting glitch. If the player kills Cohen in his apartment and then returns to Fort Frolic via bathysphere, Cohen is still alive and able to be killed a second time. Set the Quadtych on fire once you enter the main hall, and he will be waiting for you in the theater. This also allows the player to retrieve the key for Cohen's muse box in the atrium. Although Cohen is never seen in Bioshock 2, he is still a well-known person in Rapture and is mentioned by many splicers, especially the Brutes. His presence is felt in Dionysus Park, where his exhibit of art, Cohen's collection, is damaged but still present. If the player chooses to gather Adam from corpses in his art gallery, Cohen's Scherzo will play throughout. At 2 locations, the player may hear echoing laughter at the beginning or end of this song. His portrait is seen in various places around the city, and he is mentioned in an audio diary that was removed from the game. Cohen is also pictured in the Rapture's Best and Brightest 1952 poster alongside Rapture's other key figures. Sander Cohen makes a full appearance as an important figure in Rapture's still active art scene in Burial at Sea Episode 1. Booker DeWitt and Elizabeth infiltrate his private club in order to find information regarding Sally. In order to enter the club, the duo are required to locate the iconic white rabbit mask for Booker, which can be found in one of the 3 businesses sponsoring the private event. Once inside, Booker and Elizabeth witness the artist orchestrating a show and confront him. Cohen admits to know the whereabouts of Sally, but in exchange for the information, he asks them to dance for him. The duo agrees, but after a short time, a displeased Cohen electrocutes the dance floor, rendering them unconscious. Booker regains consciousness for a brief moment to see Cohen taunting him, claiming that a moth will become a butterfly. Sometime later, Booker is woken by Elizabeth in a bathysphere on their way to the prison-converted department store, where Cohen sent them to find Sally. 2 of his short films, The Black Dream and The March Hare, can be found at Fontaine's Station. In between traveling to Housewares via the tram from the Pavilion station, Elizabeth asks Booker of Cohen's reasoning as to why he sent Sally to the sunken department store, to which Booker replies that Sander must have thought of it as high arts, although as the two first descend towards the department store, Cohen mentions that he provided services for those who could pay, implying Atlas had paid for a little sister to be sent to the department store. In episode 2, he is not encountered, but a short film of his is found in the Manta Ray Lounge. When played, a distorted voice asks the viewer, "Why do you stand there when someone is right behind you?" Upon turning around, Elizabeth is startled by a masked mannequin that had appeared out of nowhere. He is also seen standing next to Elizabeth for the poster, "You Belong to Me." Another poster of him is found in the cafeteria of Ryan the Lion Preparatory Academy, under the title of Artist on the Heroes of Rapture wall, between Bridget Tenenbaum and Yi Soo-chong. So guys, that's gonna do it for the story of Sander Cohen. I do apologize that this took a while to get out, but I'll explain that in tomorrow's live stream, so stay tuned for that. If you guys enjoyed the video, would you kindly drop a like? It helps the video get out there, and it helps the channel grow, and it shows that you guys enjoy the content. If not, leave a dislike, tell me what I can do to make the video better for you guys. Other than that, if you're new here and want to join the Rapture family, or want to help the Rapture family grow, would you kindly subscribe, share the content, and turn on notifications. That way, you're notified every time I upload a video or go live with a live stream. I would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you all in the next live stream and in the next video. Take care, guys.